Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how easy it can be to draw a pencil sketch of a hummingbird. All you'll need is a pencil, eraser and a sheet of paper. Let's get started. Right, to start our hummingbird we're going to just start with the basic shape before we get into the details of it. And I want you to draw your hummingbird in the bottom left hand corner of your page. So kind of stick with the bottom half of your page and the left hand half of your page. So this is the area we want to draw our hummingbird in. And what I'm going to start is just come in from the edge of the page because we need space for his beak. So don't draw too close to that side, else you won't have space. They've got quite long little beaks. Okay, and we're going to just draw a diagonal line. This is going to be the bird's back eventually and go down into its tail. And about in the middle of this line, I want you to just draw a circle coming out. If you think about the line in thirds, we are making the circle in the middle third, and it's going to just go over the edges slightly. So it's going to be slightly more than a third and in the center. Right, then from the top we've got the bird's head. Now a hummingbird's head's kind of flat, so almost from the top of our diagonal line, just going to draw a flat line coming down or coming across. Doesn't go down too much, it's just pretty much a straight line. And I'm not going to draw the beak just yet, just going to leave about 1/2 centimeter for the beak, and I'm going to again draw a diagonal line going down to the circle that I drew earlier. Okay, we are going to smooth these lines out later. We're just getting the basic shape of our bird. From the bottom of his belly, or the circle, you're going to start going down in a diagonal line towards where our first diagonal line that we drew. This is going to be his tail feathers. So actually, if you want to just draw some feathers coming up with a curved line, you can draw about 3 or 4 of them, and they get shorter as you go up. Join onto the belly, and then we just want a nice smooth transition between the belly and the neck. Right, for his beak, it's going to be at an angle. I'm just turning my page because it's more comfortable for my hand. And as I said, they've got quite long, thin beaks, and they have a small V that goes into the head. Right, the eye is going to be almost in line with this. So going to draw the circle for the eye, and then there's going to be shading that comes from the beak, goes around the eye. So they're almost joined together. Right, so I've got a lot of lines here. I'm just going to neaten up my picture a little bit, rub out the circle because we've got the shape now. Right, so now we're going to add the wings. So the wings are again going to be some diagonal lines, but they're going to go up. And I'm going to do the top wing first, almost in line with the top of the stomach. So this circle that we had drawn here, that's a good starting point. Go out in a curved line. I would say the length of your fingers. So your ring finger is a good marker for the first wing. And then the second wing, that's a bit closer, use the tip of your middle finger. So we've got 2 markers now that will help us. I'm going to go from my marker for my ring finger, and it's going to join this about 1 centimeter lower. Okay, and again they're nice curved lines. So I'm making a nice curve from the body onto the wing, and then it curves down. This outside wing also curves down, and it comes in at an angle. The front wing, that's ended with our middle finger, we're going to join the tip of that wing to where the bottom of the circle was, and again in like a curved line. Right, the body of the bird, the back should be nice and straight here, but then just before the top of the wing we're going to have a line that comes with a curve, goes all the way to the end of the wing. Right, there's a semicircular shape starting almost halfway down the wing, and it goes up. Yeah, this is going to be darker shading. We're just marking it off now, and we will kind of smooth it out so it's not just a curve, it's just a curved shape that's darker. And from this point, the feathers of the wing are going to come out. So what we're going to do is just add in a few lines to mark off the feathers for ourselves for later. These feathers should fan out, so they'll be closer together on this end and then further apart as you go out. And they'll also get a bit smaller as they get closer to the body here. Okay, what we're going to do is add a second line there, just next to it. Try and have a little bit of white between these two lines because we want it to be slightly lighter shading later on. Okay, now the bird's wing, we've drawn a straight line here, but it's not actually straight. So we're going to use these lines that we've just drawn to help us add a bit of a curve. So I'm doing a curved U shape between each of these lines. That just helps give the bird's wings a more realistic edge. Okay, now if you look really closely at a feather, you can see lots of thin lines that go out. So we're going to draw those in between each of these lines that we've done. So it's called hatching, this type of shading. Just in between each of the lines that we've done, we're going to do this. And you can see I'm not drawing a straight line, it's at an angle. It looks strange now, but once we add all the shading in, this is going to help pull the bird together. So sometimes we do shading to show where things are dark and light. Sometimes we do shading to show the texture of something. So this is showing the texture of the bird's wings. Right under the fold of the wing here, it's going to be really dark shading. And now I'm doing a shading technique called scribbling. So it's just showing that it's a fluffy sort of a texture. We want it a bit darker in this area, especially against the body and the top of the wing. You can make it slightly lighter as you get to this middle spot. Okay, and there's going to be a bit of a shadow here on the wing, so I'm just doing some dark shading. Okay, so we've done lots of pencil sketching that shows the texture, and now we're doing a bit of pencil sketching that shows the dark and light tones. Against the body here, it's also going to be a bit darker. Right, let's go to the wing that's on the far side now. Again, we're going to do this curved line, so we're kind of repeating ourselves. And it can come to just before the line. So this one comes out here, this one's just a little bit smaller. And we're going to do a second line. And then from the second line, we're going to do the same thing again. So the center of the feather lines. Of course, this wing is on the other side, so we'll only see 2 or 3 of them. Again, you can add your hatching in. Make a U shape between each of the feathers. In this little ring that we've got here, we're going to do lots of little feathers, so just made lots of U shapes, and I'm going to do a bit of dark shading around the edge of each of these U shapes, and then over them again the same texture to show a feather, the hatching. Okay, we'll have some dark shading along each of these lines, a little bit of light shading between them. The body will make a bit of a shadow here, so I'm using my scribbling again, the same technique I used here. And I'm just going to make it a bit lighter because it's more in the sun. So this side is covered by the bird's wing, it's under the wing. this is on top of the wing, so the sun would be shining down on it, so it should be a little bit lighter. If you are feeling like it's not blending together nicely, just rub your finger over it once or twice. It will soften the shading a bit, make it look like it's a bit more blended. Right, to shade the bird's belly, we're going to mark off a U shape. It's not a perfect U shape, but from the bottom of the belly, it's going to come up on this side and be a bit darker on the tummy here. Now for this shading, I'm going to make it cross hatching. So hatching is going in one direction. When you cross hatch, you go in two directions. So I'm going to turn my page 90 degrees. These little lines that you drew to help you fill in the shading, try to cover them because we don't want to see these lines at the end. Okay, from the top of the wing, go down across the belly, and this section is going to be a little bit lighter, but not as light as the top of the belly because it's in the shadow of the wing. And I'm just going to do hatching there to make it slightly lighter. The other thing is, by doing two different textures, so cross hatching and hatching next to each other, you make it clear that it's different. Again, you don't want to see the line, so just go slightly over the line. Okay, and that shading should carry over into the wing, this tip of the wing here. Right, from the top of the bird's chest, we're going to have a little line coming down. And the bottom of his chin is going to be darker. So for the bottom of his chin, let's do that dark shading first because it's going to be the same as the shading at the bottom. So we'll do a cross hatch there. And then again, just hatching like we've done here in this section. For the back of the head, you draw a line down, almost go around the eye, and then join at the back wing. So it's down around the eye, curves out, and then goes back to the head at the back wing. This is also going to be slightly darker shading. Again, go over that line. We don't want to have these lines in our picture. From the eye, we're going to draw almost a teardrop shape underneath the eye. And again, do some darker shading on there. Let's make both of these cross hatching so they look slightly darker. And just a little bit of dark shading underneath there. Right, so the rest of this body that's not shaded, I'm going to go even lighter, so my lightest shading, and I'm going at a slightly different angle. So sometimes with pencil sketching it's hard to do all these different shades, so by making a line go in a different direction, you also just make it look a bit different. Okay, so I'm just colouring all the way to the top of the head. Right, on top of the head we're going to have a little marking here just above the eye. Going to have a darker outline around the eye. This is white. The actual pupil I'm going to colour in very dark. I've just left a little fleck of white there. Sometimes makes the eye look a little bit more lifelike or alive. Okay, and their beaks are quite dark, so you can shade that beak in really dark. Almost as dark as the eye. Right, so we're going to have quite dark shading here. And towards the end of the tail. Just kind of doing an outline around each of these feathers. You can do a bit of hatching in there. And from the bottom of the belly to the tail, there should just be a little strip of slightly lighter shading and cross hatching because the birds are quite fluffy in that area. They don't have thick hard feathers like their wings. They have soft fluff. Right, if you're finding that two areas are looking too similar, like I'm finding that this shading and this shading, it's too close, I'm going to darken this shading a bit. And if you wanted to, you could lighten the shading with your eraser. Though you want them to blend into each other, you also want to have some definition in the bird. If they are too different, you could just do another layer over the whole bird just to tie everything together. Right, and I'm just going to lighten this wing a bit here, the tip of his wing. Right, I hope you had lots of fun drawing this hummingbird. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like these, please subscribe to my channel. We put up a new video every week.